Welcome to Liza's Painting Parties. I'm Liza and I'm really looking forward to tonight's painting. We're going to be doing a nice love themed one today for Valentine's Day and Family Day. If you are in Ontario like I am, we have a Family Day holiday. I don't think it's next week, I think it's the week after though. But yeah, so just in the mood for love, and we'll be doing a really fun picture today. So this is the painting that we're going to be recreating. So I'll be walking through it with you step by step, and we'll be able to make our own versions. I highly encourage you to do what you like to do as well, so you can change it up however you want to change it up. What I'll be walking you through is how to recreate this, pretty much how it looks. I might change up a little bit of the placement of like the branches just for fun. But feel free to do that as well. If you want, you can add like an additional like birds. Let's say you want to put your whole family as birds there. That would be really cute. And you can have different ways of going about doing it. If you want to say love, you can change the message entirely. So just like have a think about what components that you really like about this and what you may want to make your own or tweak yourself to. It's always fun to put your own spin on it. The colors that we're going to be using primarily today are black, white, and red. And again, you can change that up. So I like this because of the whole like red Valentine's theme, and it's kind of nice that way. We do have a little bit of pink, but that's obviously made with the red and the white mixed together. But you can change that up. So if you prefer to do something with a blue, you can make your cup really blue. You can follow the same techniques I'll be saying, but then you just need to slightly tweak. Instead of going with the red, you'd go with like a blue color, make it darker or lighter or whatever you need, okay? So that's kind of what we're going to be going through, and that's the flow of how we'll approach this today. So I'm just taking a look right now, and we'll get started just a little bit after 6 to make sure that everyone who wants to join and paint along with me live and all of us live have the opportunity to do so. Again, I don't see that there are comments popping up the way they used to prior. Here's some comments. Oh, they changed where my comments were. I found them, but it's not where I thought they were. All right, I see it. Jen, hi Jen. Can we start an hour later? Will there be a recording? Bad weather. So right now I'm going to be starting at the scheduled time, but if you are unable to join or unable to start right off the hop, this is recorded, so then you'll be able to access it later. And I think even with the live, you can rewind back and you can see what's been already done if you want to start an hour later and I haven't actually fully finished the painting yet. What I tend to do is once the session is done, then I'll take the recording and I'll also upload it onto my YouTube channel, and it will still be available on my Facebook page. So if you're not able to join right this moment, or if something happens and you have to disconnect, you have to leave, whatever the case is, you can always rewatch the video at a later time as well. So it'll be available for you. Hi Cindy. Hi Brooke. Oh, thank you so much, Linda. I appreciate the stars. Thank you. And hi, Karen. And Karen says she likes to watch first. So I think that's a great idea. So for a lot of people, you're in the same boat as a lot of people, Karen. So people have told me that before, where they like to kind of watch the process and then pick it up and figure out how they want to approach it themselves later. And I think that's a really great idea too. So feel free to do that too. As we go through, feel free to make any comments. If you have any suggestions or any questions, jump them in there. I'll keep an eye on it. Again, it's a little tricky the way that where the comments are posted on like this Facebook navigation system here. So I will do my best to keep an eye on it and answer anything that comes up as we go. So right now I'll go through the product list of what we'll need for today's painting party. So I suggest I always use like an 11 by 14 canvas. I use a canvas board, and that is mostly for storage purposes for me versus preference. I do actually prefer to have like a stretched canvas. I do find that quality is often better, but a canvas board can be really efficient and has some good qualities as well. So I'll be using a canvas board, and you can use any size. I'm going to be doing it like this in portrait. Because I kind of like the orientation of that a little better. I feel like that's going to fall over, but that's okay. Okay, and then we have our paint. So I have red, black, and white. The paint that I'm using is called Artist's Loft. I got this from Michael's. It has a bit of a shine when it dries, and I really like that. I have in the past used paint from Dollarama. They usually, like if it's like an acrylic, a crafter's acrylic, they dry with like a matte finish. So I might dip into that depending. I think for this painting project, I'm just going to stick with these basic colors, the ones from there. But really, it's up to you what you like and what your preferences are. I have my palette where I'm going to be putting on my paint. I do most of my mixing right on the actual canvas as I go, and I'll walk you through what that looks like when we do it too. I also have my water. So acrylic is water-based paint, but acrylic is permanent when it dries. So just keep that in mind. If anyone is wearing something that you don't want acrylic to be permanently living on there forever, make sure you wash it off before it dries or else, yeah, it'll be there forever. I suggest having a variety of brush sizes as well. I like to use this flat number 12 brush. I use usually a number 2 for like my medium brush, and then I'll have like a fine point brush as well. And the fine point brushes that I use, I got them from Amazon as well, and they have kind of like almost like a pencil grip, so it's like a triangular base, so it gives me a good control when I'm trying to be really specific with my line. So that's what I prefer to use. So if you have at least 3 different sizes, you're pretty much good to go. If you have other ones, again, you can kind of feel it through. When I paint, I tend not to use a lot of water when I'm using acrylic. I find that a lot of people who start using acrylic, they tend to like rinse out their brushes or dip their brush in water quite frequently. I only do that when I'm kind of done with the brush for a while. I use paper towel a lot to remove excess paint, and then to kind of keep going with the same brush. What's important is to ensure that the paint doesn't dry on your brush, because it will ruin it, because again, it's permanent and it will ruin the brush if it dries fully. So just try to make sure that in terms of the upkeep of your brush, you wash them properly at the end. But during this process, I don't go to the water often, and I'll try to trigger and let you know when I'm using water, when I'm not, as I'm going through it as well. Okay? So let me see. Make sure. Hi, Bianca. It's 10 a.m. in Australia. Good morning out there. That's fantastic. I'm so glad you're joining from Australia. That's awesome. Hi, Amy. You didn't get the notification. That's interesting. That's good to know. From my understanding, it's supposed to generate that, but thank you for letting me know that, because there are people who do tell me or who have issue accessing it. So then I have to see what's going on with that. I'm just going to do a quick little, there you go. And yeah, perfect. So I make sure there's no other messages coming through on my phone to ensure that everyone's on who wants to join us right now. Hi, Brandy. Yep, you absolutely can watch this later. This will be up on the site under the videos tab here on the Facebook page, and also on my YouTube channel under Liza's Painting Party, so you'll be able to access it on both spots there and there. Okay. Hi, Carol. I'm doing well. How are you? Thanks for joining today. All right, and then the other supply that I would suggest is have some water or have something. I do use a water bottle with a lid. Anyone who's painted before knows that sometimes your dirty brushes can wind up in your beverage container, so I do use a water bottle with a lid. All right, so we got that going. So we'll get started in just a moment. This particular painting, the way we're going to approach it, as I do with all acrylic paintings, is I start with whatever is in the background first, and then we build from there. So what we're going to start with is we're going to start with this gray, kind of almost cloudy, crisscrossy background. So it has a couple different shades of gray, and then we have this like lighter focus in the middle there. So we'll play with that first, and then we'll build from there, okay? The other tool that you may want to have access to as we go through this is you might want to have a hairdryer as well, and that can just help speed up the drying process of your paint in case you end up using you're a bit heavier handed on your paint, and it'll take a bit longer to dry. Or some paint is just like that. Some climates are like that too, where some climates the paint dries so fast before you even get a chance to blend, it's already dry. So it really just depends on those aspects. But you might want to have that too to speed along the drying process if that's something that's a concern or worry for you. Okay. I don't have that, so we'll just have to go with it as we do it. All right. Also for all these painting parties, I knew that was kind of fun. All these painting parties are free, so they're all available, and they'll always be available on the Facebook page and also my YouTube channel. And you can access, this is the 90th one we've done, so if you enjoy the way I approach it, feel free to jump on and check out any of the previous ones and do them. The one request that I ask for is if you do paint along, please take a picture of your painting and share it with me, because I love to see it. Even if you do one from like a year ago, I love to check it out and see what creations you've done, so please share it because I think that's really fun. In terms of other things, if you would like to leave me a tip, there's a link there for the Buy Me a Coffee. It's not necessary at all, but obviously appreciated. And if you're interested in doing your own private painting party, virtual, especially for people who are in Australia or everywhere else around the world, you can go onto my website, lisaspaintingparties.com, and then there are packages there you can check out, and I'd love to do that for you. If you're in the Toronto area, so I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, definitely reach out, and we could do something in person as well if that's something that you're interested in. Again, it just would have to stick with COVID guidelines and whatnot, so would have to approach that and talk about that and what that would look like, but I'm definitely open for those conversations. So yeah, so without further ado, let's see. Oh wow, I missed your comment, sorry. Hi Carrie from Minnesota, fantastic. Rula, I'm so glad you're here. Hi Rula. Belinda says she's totally brand new, baby steps please. I will be as detailed as I can with you, so hopefully you are good with it and you enjoy it, and I want you to have fun, so don't stress, just enjoy and have a lot of fun. Great. And Amy, you're getting pauses in the video. That can sometimes happen. I hope it doesn't. Everything seems to be strong on my end here, so I know Facebook again is kind of tricky in that way, so hopefully it still goes through, or you can rewind if it's being a little bit funky. And Brandy says she's drank from her rinse water. Yep, that's happened. That's so gross, eh? Oh no. And Carol's on. Yes, I'm so glad that you're here. Hi Marie from Michigan, and hi Judy from Georgia. Hi everyone. All right, so let's get some paint on canvas. What I'll do too is then I'll move the camera over so you can see the inspiration image as we're painting. However, because it'll be on a screen, if you are a little bit of a control freak like I am, you might want to grab a screenshot of the image from the post from yesterday where I said this is what we're going to be painting, and then you can just have that available as reference for you, because sometimes you might want to zoom in or see certain things that might be hard to catch on the video, so I would suggest doing that if you'd like to. Otherwise it will be on the screen. I'll still walk you through the process, okay? But just wanted to give you that as an option as well. Yep, absolutely, Judy. You'll be able to watch again anytime. So it'll be on the under the videos tab on my Facebook page and also on my YouTube channel as well after this broadcast is complete. So by a couple hours after. Hi, Kane. I'm glad you're joining. All right. Fantastic. That's weird. Anyways, sorry. There's like a weird like stars message or something, and I don't know why it's, I don't know, I find that weird. Anyways, Facebook, strange. Okay, so let us start. So with this painting, we are going to use our white, our black, and our red. So I'm going to pop that onto my palette so you get an idea of how much paint I'm using for each. So I'm putting a good amount of white. The reason for that is because we're going to try to get a good gray going, and I want it to be light, so I'm going to be using quite a bit on the background. Even though there's a lot of black going on in this picture, black is really powerful, and you don't need a lot for it to go a long way. So I'm going to put like maybe like that for now, so quite significantly less than the white. And then, you know what? I'm not even going to touch the red yet because we're not doing red yet. So I'll just leave the red off of the palette for now. Okay, now let me see what's going on so I can align this properly. Okay. Nope. Let's see if I can bring this over a bit more without things falling over. Nope. Okay. I think that's what we got for now, and I'll move things as necessary. I'll try to focus more on like what I'm painting, and I'll bring that up as we need to, but we won't be able to see the entire thing as we go. Just my stand is clearly too short, and I don't have anything around me where I can lift it up as of right now. So I'm not going to stress about it. We're just going to move on from there, I think. No, I have an idea. I say that, but then obviously my brain's going, and I'm like, what else can I use? Let's try to see if this will lift it up higher. Okay. That should be better, right? Yeah, that's better. Perfecto. Kind of perfecto. Better than before. We'll go with that. Hi, Lori. Okay, so there we go. So how I'm going to start is this. I'm going to get my big brush, and I'm going to start with popping quite a bit of white on the canvas. And when I say that is, I'm going to dip my brush. I'm just going to bring my palette up again. I'm going to put a lot of white paint, like a lot, on my brush. And we're going to start by just getting it on this canvas. And I don't really care how the strokes are. I'm kind of going in like crisscrosses, and I'm going to get a lot more paint again. And so what I'm doing is I'm just creating a nice white, wet layer to start. And it's like, it's not super thick. When I put it on, it's a pretty big glob of paint, but then I spread it around nicely. It's still, there's still like a good layer though. Like, so when you are moving your brush on your canvas, it should still feel quite wet. Sometimes when you go on and it's like a drier part, you can even hear it. I don't know if you can hear that part, but it sounds dry. We don't want it to sound dry. We still want it to have like a good amount of paint on there. So load up those brushes, put some nice X's. If you start hearing it dry, then you need to grab some more of that paint and spread it around, or get another glob on your brush and bring it around. Okay. And you're going to move rather quickly in this part. And again, don't stress. You don't need to cover like every little spot of it, but try to get as much as you can covered in the white paint in like X's. And we're moving a little quickly because we're going to blend and start getting some of the gray happening while this is still wet. Okay? So just like go quickly, and just have fun with it. Kind of boring, I think, for you to look at it right now, but it'll get more interesting very soon. Okay. So now that it is wet and my paintbrush is I still have it with the white paint. I'm not cleaning it off. I'm not wiping it down. I'm now going into my black paint, and I'm putting like a little bit on the tip. Okay? And now because I want to make it gray, but I don't want it to become black, I'm just going to put little weird lines, essentially, in my paint. And they don't even really make sense because you're like, that doesn't look like that, and that's totally fine. Just do that. Everything's still wet. And then at this point, I'm just going to take off the excess black from that big brush. I'm still not, like, washing it or anything. And while everything's still wet, I'm going to get more white paint again on that brush. And now I'm going to go over the black and make some crisscrossies. And now we're going to get this like textured background that's gray and has a little bit of, I'm going to say texture again because that's kind of what I'm going for, kind of like a texture to it instead of it just being like a solid, smooth, one other color brush. Okay. And I'm not even going to worry about that orb in the middle yet. Okay. So again, we're going to move pretty quickly. Let's go back and forth and like X's. Kind of has this like weird cloudy sky. I'm not going to worry too much about the bottom because as you see there's like this table where the coffee cup is sitting, and I know that the table is going to go about like that high, so just eyeball where you want the table to go and just make sure your background is blended until like below wherever that table is going to live. Okay. Okay. Now, one thing I want to caution with too is I don't want you to go too dark on this background because if it goes too dark then you're not going to be able to see the definition of like the tree branches that are there. But we still want it maybe I think a little bit darker than what I have so far. So I'm going to put in a little bit more black. So I'm just going to do the same technique. So I want to get the corners a little darker and then around here a little darker, and then I'm just going to again blend it in because everything's still wet. And for me, I struggle with like having a very loose hand. So this is actually quite challenging for me. Like I end up wanting to make it like a very smooth background. But I want to try to make it as painterly as possible. I do want it a bit darker up here. It's where you can really see the paint strokes. But that's not my natural. My natural is to try to like blend things out and make them really smooth. So it's a little bit of a challenge for me too. But it's fun. I think it's a control nature in me that it stresses me out. To like trust that like the strokes are going to look okay. Okay. And again, just a reminder, I haven't like washed my brush at all. All I've used is the paper towel to like remove excess paint from it. And I only did that one time when there was like quite a bit of black on there. Okay. I'm going to check on the comments in just a moment. I have not looked yet, so. Okay, I'm going to do that as soon as I feel like I can stop doing crisscrosses. One moment. Okay. All right. Let's see what everyone needs. Okay. Hi, Lori. This is acrylic paint. Hi, Kathleen. Also Canadian, fellow Canadian. Woo woo. I have Iris from Virginia. Hello. And yes, Iris, there will be a replay, so you can definitely rewatch this whenever it's convenient for you on my Facebook page under the videos tab or on my YouTube channel. And Judy noticed the cat picture that was behind me. Yeah, so that was a cool one. I did it a little while ago. And I was thinking we might do it as like on one of our nights, so keep an eye out. I think that'd be kind of fun. And if anyone has any suggestions in how, and any other, like, anything else you'd like to do, definitely reach out and let me know. I'll be posting the March calendar, probably like the last week of February is my plan. And I have a few ideas, and we're going to go a little bit outside the box and have some fun with some different techniques that I've checked out from other creators, and I want to play with, and I think it'll be fun for us to play with it too. Oh, awesome. Belinda, how are you making the strokes? So the way I'm making the strokes is I'm going like this. So I'm going crisscross, essentially, but I'm keeping my hand very light. I'm keeping the brush strokes very quick, and the paint is all wet. So as I'm doing this, it's blending quickly, and I'm, what else am I doing? Oh, I had another thing I was going to say, and it totally slipped my mind. So yeah, I'm going like back and forth. Oh, that's the thing. So the other thing I'm keeping in mind, though, is I tend to do very repetitive patterns when I don't think about it or force myself to kind of be more present. So what I'm trying to do is, instead of just doing like full on like X's that will end up looking the same, or swooshes that look the same, I try to consciously like twist my brush around so like different angles of the bristles hit the canvas, so then it changes the lines and the shapes of it. So just try to be cognizant, or just notice when you get into like a flow, if it starts to look like you stamped the actual lines on, if you know what I mean. So hopefully that helps. So kind of like a crisscross, loose brush, quick, everything's wet. That's how I'm doing it. Yes, Lori. My paint can dry really quickly too, and it depends on your climate, or if you're like beside like a heater vent, which I am, especially in summer when the air conditioning's on. I find that my paint dries so fast. So I'm definitely feeling you. If you're also using a canvas board, I find that it dries faster on a canvas board versus a canvas. A few things that you can do with that. There is something that you can buy. I think it's called a retarder, and it will slow down the drying process of the actual paint. So you could look into that as an option. The other option, one of my hairs on the canvas. That's how you really make it personal. You just like put your hair right on the canvas. The other option you could do, some people use like a light mist. So I wouldn't use a spray bottle. It has to be like a mist, and that can keep the canvas wet as you're going through. Part of that is, it's a technique too, and it's hard to get the blending going when you're trying to paint very quickly on the canvas. So I know that will just take some time just to get comfortable with it and to trust yourself in the process, because that took me some time too when I first started. So that could be another reason too. Hopefully that helps. Well, ocean and waves. Yeah, definitely. There's a video that I did one in the past where we did some like ripples in the water, but I haven't actually done a wave, I don't think, in all the 90 videos I've done so far. So that's a really great one. Okay, so I'm happy with the flow of this, and again, it looks a little bit different than the original one. I still haven't put in this whole light source. That's going to change things up a bit, but you might have noticed as I was doing that, I was trying to keep this section a little bit lighter, but even if you didn't do that, that's not a problem, because we can then put that in when we put in that light. So that's not an issue. So I'm just going to let this get a little bit drier before I go to the next step, which is why I'm just kind of waiting, and it'll give you a bit of time to like continue your painting process as you go. Let me just make sure everyone's good. I feel weird not painting when the screen looks like that. I want to like continue. Keep going. Okay. All right. I think we are going to continue. Okay. Let's continue. All right. So mine's not dry, but it's like tacky. So like the paint's not really coming off on my hand in some areas. In some areas it will. I can see where the difference is. But at this point I can continue on, and it shouldn't affect things too much. If your paint is very wet in this area here where we're going to be putting in the white and get that kind of like glow happening. Either, like I said, use like a dryer or something to get it, like a hair dryer, to get it drier in those areas, or just give it a little bit more time and wait a little bit before you continue on. But for the sake of this process, I'm going to start. So I'm going to get my medium-sized brush, size 2, like I mentioned, and I'm going to dab white paint right there. Now, where this light source is, it's not really center stage on the painting. You can kind of put it wherever you want, to be honest. It doesn't really matter because you can like adjust the components of the painting to your liking. But for all intents and purposes for this painting, it's a little bit higher than midway point vertically on the canvas, and it's a little bit over from like the midpoint horizontally here, right? So I'm going to put it essentially kind of in this spot here. And I'm just going to start always smaller than whatever I want that circle to be. So I'm going to start with a little dot, and then I'm just going to make it a little bigger as I go. And I might want to use a thinner brush. It depends on your brush and if you like the control that your brush is giving you, or if you want to change it up and use a different brush. So you can decide how you want to do this. I'm kind of just going in the middle and holding it in place and then bringing it around, almost like a protractor, how you have the one in the middle and then bringing it around, because I don't want it to be super big. I want it a little bigger. That tends, when it's like this size, to work best to get it to be circular and small. Hi, Carol. So Carol says she paints very slow. She'll be watching and trying this later. Yeah, absolutely. That totally works. It's really just when I paint backgrounds and when I'm blending and I'm doing the whole thing in the one go that it moves quickly, just for the drying component. But other than that, you can take your time with, I think, almost every other part, essentially. So don't feel like you have to be rushed with it. Okay, so now that we have the center, I'm just going to kind of do little curves around that source to give the sense that it's emanating some light. Okay. Now on this part, I am going to use a little bit of water to soften some of these lines because the paint behind it is now dry. And I still want it to kind of like blend a little bit into the background. This could also be done with the thinner brush as well, if you prefer. So whatever, again, you feel comfortable using. Just going to bring this out a little bit more. I'm going to still have the, ooh, that was too much water. IPA. Put too much water, it's going to drip, and we don't want that to happen, and now some of the paint has come off slightly. That's okay. That's what happens. No big deal. I'm just going to add a little bit more paint, and I'm just going to try to fix that up. If you have a mistake like me, we can fix it. No problem. So I'm just going to try to fix that mistake a little bit. So what I did was I ended up peeling off the paint because too much water was on the actual canvas. And when I went to rub it off, it took the layer of the paint behind it off. So what I'm doing is just doing the same technique we did before for the background. So I'm just getting it wet, making it a little bit easier to blend. And I'm just going to do this crisscrossy motion to try to blend this little area into the background. I'm going to use some water to help with that process too, but not too much. So this is a little bit outside of what we should be doing right now, but if you have a mistake, that's what happens sometimes. Okay. Okay, I think that's all right. We're gonna end up putting branches and stuff, so we won't notice that too much. But I think that covered up nicely enough. All right, so I'm seeing that some people are, quite a few people are saying that there's some issues with the feed that's cutting off. So that is not cool. So this will be available later. It is recording on my computer from what I can tell. Everything seems to be good from what Facebook is telling me. But maybe what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it for a second, and I am going to see if I can switch my connection to my phone. If my phone can be a hotspot, then perhaps that will make it a little bit stronger, and then we can see if that works better. Okay, I'm going to try that right now.